Welcome to today's deep dive. Usually when we talk about being isolated by our phones, we kind of treat it like a purely modern hardware glitch, right?
Oh, totally. We hold up the glowing rectangle and just blame the microchips.
Right. We say, Silicon Valley built the ultimate trap. But the source we're looking at today, this really fascinating piece called Ancient Mirrors for Digital Cages, it argues something completely different.
Yeah, the mission today is basically to decode our high-tech loneliness using the world's oldest stories.
Exactly. Because it turns out the psychological exploits keeping us glued to our screens, they're actually thousands of years old.
I mean, the architecture of the trap might be new, but the human vulnerabilities it targets are ancient. Like, take Plato's allegory of the cave.
Oh, right. The one where the prisoners stare at shadows on a wall.
Yeah, and they totally mistake the shadows for reality. We usually map that directly to the modern habit of scrolling, where your customized feed is essentially the cave.
Yeah. But I mean, I think most of us actually know the feed is just shadows.
Yeah.
Like we know those vacation photos and life updates are heavily curated.
Right, they aren't real life.
Exactly. So the really unsettling question isn't whether we're tricked by the cave. It's why do we willingly walk into it and chain ourselves to the wall?
Oh, it's a great point.
Like, has the messy, unfiltered reality of actual human interaction just become too threatening?
Well, yeah, because shadows are predictable. Real life isn't. I mean, when you curate a digital version of yourself, you control the variables.
Right.
And that's actually the real lesson hiding inside the myth of Narcissus. The popular read is just that it's a story about pure vanity.
Just a guy who couldn't stop looking at himself.
Right, but the mechanism of his isolation is much deeper than that.
Because it's about the feedback loop, right? Like, he ignores the nymph echo, who is literally standing right there, offering genuine, unpredictable human connection, because he's just paralyzed by his own curated image.
He prefers the reflection because, well, a reflection doesn't challenge you.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's the ultimate closed circuit. And the reason this isolates us isn't just because we're looking at screens. It's because we are agonizing over how the world looks at us.
So a tool meant for global connection devolves into just a mirror of self-absorption.
Exactly, because staring at the reflection feels safer than actually participating in the world.
But when millions of people retreat into their own private reflections like that, it completely fractures how we communicate as a society.
Yeah, it leads to a really loud but incredibly lonely society.
Right. We end up using the same vocabulary but operating in entirely different realities.
Which is basically the modern Tower of Babel.
Oh, totally.
The traditional narrative there is a divine punishment scattering humanity with different languages. But today's equivalent, the algorithmically driven echo chamber, is essentially semantic collapse.
Semantic collapse.
Right. Right. We are all ostensibly speaking the same language, but
Yeah.
the definitions of words shift entirely based on which digital feed you live inside. It traps us in what the source beautifully calls fortresses of angry solitude.
Fortresses of angry solitude. I love that.
Yeah.
And, what do we do when we feel angry and isolated?
We obsessively scan for threats.
Exactly. Which brings up the Buddha's parable of the poisoned arrow. Though, I actually struggle a bit with the source's conclusion here.
Oh, really? How come?
Well, the parable describes a dying man shot with a poisoned arrow who refuses medical treatment until he knows the archer's name, the wood of the bow, the type of feather.
Right, and the source equates that to doom scrolling.
Yes, but honestly, if I'm under attack, analyzing the archer feels like a highly rational survival tactic.
Right.
I mean, we doom scroll because our brains are wired to map out a threat before we can relax. We want to feel informed.
Well, sure, mapping a threat makes perfect evolutionary sense if the threat is like a physical predator in the bushes.
Right.
But the psychological glitch happens because digital platforms provide an infinite, unending stream of archers.
Oh, I see.
You can never finish mapping the threat. The algorithm hijacks your natural survival instinct, keeping you hyper-fixated on politicians, global crises, trending outrages.
So we stay in a perpetual state of research, basically bleeding out while analyzing the poison.
Exactly, because treating the actual wound, the immediate physical anxiety and loneliness you feel, that requires putting the phone down.
It requires like taking a walk or calling a friend.
Yeah, but the brain insists, no, I can't heal yet. I haven't finished figuring out who shot me.
Wow. Which means all that energy we spend researching the archers and polishing our digital reflections is essentially defensive. We're just building armor.
Which maps perfectly to that folk motif of the empty suit.
The walking, talking suit of armor with absolutely no one inside.
Right. We maintain these vibrant, heavily fortified digital profiles, and we defend them so fiercely.
But the psychological toll is profound. You end up in this bizarre state of being seen by thousands of people every single day, but feeling genuinely known by no one.
Yeah. I mean, the digital age didn't invent new human flaws. It simply built a frictionless, high-speed delivery system for our oldest defense mechanisms.
So stepping out of the cage means identifying those mechanisms, right? Realizing you're agonizing over the archer rather than treating the wound.
Absolutely. Returning to the real world. Looking up from the pool.
So as you go about your day, we want you to ask yourself, which of these ancient mirrors reflects your daily digital habits the most?
Yeah, are you stuck in the cave or staring at the pool?
And I'll leave you with one final thought to mull over. We know the glowing rectangles in our hands are a lot like the wall in Plato's cave. But if our screens are just the wall, who, or what, is actually casting the shadows we're staring at today?